Let's talk about bipolar disorder, because there is no expert on a mental illness more powerful than someone who suffers from that mental illness. Like, if you're a person with no mental illness and you specialize on a particular mental illness like bipolar, you're going to have a unique opinion and good insights. I'm not saying that your comments aren't worthwhile. It's just like you're talking about the experience of swimming and you've never been in a pool or an ocean or a pond or a lake. There's only so much you can know about riding a bicycle without ever getting on the pedals and the bike seat. But I speak from experience with bipolar, especially bipolar 1, particularly bipolar 1, which is one of my diagnoses, and it's in vogue to be transparent about your mental health diagnoses these days. For better or worse, I mean, we're pretty open about I have a cold, I have the flu, I have pneumonia. We're pretty even open about our STIs, hey, I have this. We're very open about physical ailments. But when it comes to psychological conditions, there's a little bit more of a taboo, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people who even have a little bit of it will brag and boast about having it. So, look at me, I have depression, look how much I suffer. I have ADHD, I have a slight touch of autism, and they take that little bit of identification with a particular mental illness and, stretch it out to tell a lot more of their story than it actually does. Bipolar 1, for me, tells not the whole story, but more than 50%, I would say, especially all my mental illnesses in general, account for a lot of the main events in my life. In fact, the most important event in my life can be directly correlated with the bipolar 1 manic episode. In other words, the most important thing to ever happen to me coincided with the bipolar 1 manic episode. So, do mental illnesses come with gifts? Well, you have to ask everybody on earth who has one. But if you ask me about mine and whether my mental illnesses came with gifts, I would say yes. I had religious psychosis, so I was spiritually crazy, divine madness, which Paul the Apostle probably had. I mean, we can debate that, but, was he spiritually crazy? You kind of have to be living in his time, doing what he did, given who he was and what happened to him. Let me say something for the record. I would not trade my bipolar condition for anything. I would not give it up, even if you said you could cure it, I'd say no. Can you hear me on that? If you said, Neil, I can take away your bipolar 1. I can cure you of it. Even if Jesus came down, maybe I was in the woods or something, and Jesus appeared to me and said, hey, I got an offer for you, and it's my only offer right now. I can lay my hands on your head and take away your bipolar 1 condition so that it's like it was never even there from now on. I would say, no, thank you. Ironically, I would tell Jesus at that time that I've come to know him through it, that I've come to know Jesus through bipolar 1 as much or more than any other reality about my personality. And I plan to learn even more about him as I'm only 33. I plan to learn more about him through the realities of bipolar 1 and what it does to me. I plan to learn more about Jesus through its gifts and curses, because those things are interchangeable. But no, the knowledge I've gained, the experiences I've had, the feelings I've felt as a direct result of the bipolar condition are some of the sweetest and most treasured memories of my life. So I'm not here to bemoan mental illness or bipolar and say that, oh, woe is me. Hell no. I'm happy for what I experienced on the condition. I'm not saying it hasn't caused me a fair bit of suffering, because it has. Not enough to make me want to give it up, though. In other words, the suffering was worth it. We all partook of the tree. In other words, we all would have done what Adam and Eve did. That's enough for now.